In the story of progress, every chapter of development adds depth, richness, and meaning to our collective narrative. From the smallest steps to the grandest strides, every act of development paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. Welcome to the Development Report on People's 105.5 FM, where we talk about pressing issues surrounding sustainable development. I'm all about everything development, from women's empowerment to children's rights, climate change, water resources, food waste, waste management, and more. I am Ife Onyekwere, and together we'll be coming close to our common good as a nation as we look into communication in advancing just transition in Africa. And I will not be doing this alone. We have in the studio today Boluwatife Adekanye, who is the communications officer, YALI, that's Young African Leaders Initiative, an initiative of the United States Department of State. Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon.
Well done. All right, we'll be talking about advancing just transition in Africa, and we'll be measuring how far we've come, to understand this concept and what experts and, those in the communication sector, are also doing to ensure that our focus in Africa is well channeled to the future. Our guest here will do more justice on that with the topic before us, and you can join the conversation on social media at People's 105.5 FM. You can also join the program via telephone line on 0911-222-1055, and you can also send your contributions to join in the conversation on WhatsApp 0911-112-1055. And let's keep it going on X at TDEV Reports.
We inform, we educate, we entertain. We are the People's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
Straight up, we'll be taking the development news stories shortly, and after that, we'll continue with the development issues before us right here. For the headlines, Governor Diri, Senator Dixon call for urgent action on Niger Delta oil pollution crisis. African Development Bank approves $100 million to boost youth and women-led business in Nigeria. UN climate change raises concern for global climate efforts. The Bayelsa State Governor, Governor Doye Diri, has raised an urgent call for action against environmental devastation caused by oil pollution in the Niger Delta. Speaking at the International Conference on Petroleum Pollution and Just Transition, the governor warned that the oil industry has turned Bayelsa's river to hazardous waste zones, reducing local fishing and farming. He pointed out that one of the consequences aligned is a reduced life expectancy of 50% in the state. Echoing the governor's call, Senator Henry Sereke Dixon, chairman of the Senate Committee on Ecology and Climate Change, commended the Bayelsa State Oil and Environment Commission report for its use of the term genocide to describe the environmental catastrophe, highlighting how oil companies exploit weak regulatory structures for profit. The African Development Bank, AFDB, has approved a $100 million loan to boost access to finance for youth and women-led small and medium enterprises in Nigeria. The funding is set to support the Nigerian Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank initiative. The report says key components of the initiative includes an equity investment fund for startups, an ecosystem development fund to support business growth, and credit guarantee facility to reduce credit access barriers. Report says United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, is facing a significant budget shortfall with a gap of at least 57 million euros for 2024. This funding deficit is said to represent nearly half of what is needed to support essential climate negotiations and the implementation of agreements among nearly 200 countries. With the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change total budget for 2024 to 2025 set at 240 million euros, diplomats warned that the shortfall could disrupt global climate efforts, especially as the organization relies on both mandatory and voluntary contributions from member countries to fill its core and supplementary funds. And that's it on the development news segment. Keep it locked right here for more engaging sections.
we inform, we educate, we entertain. We are the people's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
It's still the development report, and I'm here with Boluwatife Adekanye, who is the communications officer, YALI, Young African Leaders Initiative, and we're going to be discussing advancing just transition in Africa. Great to have you in the studio here today. Just know that you can actually send in your contributions. You can follow the trend on X at TDEV Reports, and on WhatsApp you can send in your contributions to 0911-112-1055. Let's keep it rolling. All right, Mr. Boluwatife, great to have you in the studio again.
Yeah, thank you.
Talking about just transition, we know that a lot of people, a lot of third world countries, we need everyone, both the advanced ones and those who are still, developing, to team up and then put heads together, talking about everyone transiting into cleaner energy, cleaner fuel and all like that, right? So would you say just transition is, essential for Africa's sustainable development journey? How would you, relate this as a communications expert?
Okay, thanks for having me. And if I should respond to that regarding just transition for Africa, firstly is to even define what the just transition actually means for us. And just transition is a framework for transforming economics and societies to achieve environmental sustainability, social justice, and economic equity. So breaking it down into that three different aspects, cut across not just the energy sector, it touched the climate sector, it touched the social sustainability goals, touched the environmental sustainability, touched about the social justice, which we are talking about the human rights. So if we are breaking it down to just transition and putting everything together, we will say that the decision for Africa is focused on ensuring that all these specific areas are being touched in ensuring that we have a just transition. And fine, for the first word, second word, and third word, everybody have their different definitions to this. But I would say that for human rights, I think is we talk about the fundamental human rights, which I would say is the bottom line for foundation to driving the course for this just transition. So it might be that for certain countries they might want to treat what that just transition means to them, but in as much that there is a foundation to all these things, I think that is the basis to what we should use to define the just transition for what Africa actually needs.
Thank you. Now, looking at the role of communicating this, in your view, what role does communication play in advancing just transition movement across Africa, so that we don't have it, popular among a sect and it sounds strange or sounds very, awkward for another sect of people? How do we ensure that this term is communicated effectively to people across board, both from the rural to the urban areas across different countries, especially Africa? Okay.
Our communication roles in advancing transition in Africa truly is very, very important. And I would say this comes to the way we tell our stories of what is affecting us and how we picture it to the whole world to see. So for Africa, if we want to talk about effective communication regarding this, we talk number one about raising awareness. And this raising awareness cut across both the climate change issues we are facing, the energy sector problems we are facing, the educational problem we are facing, the no poverty that we are experiencing, hunger in the land, and health issues that surrounds even what has emanated through the climate issues that are crisis that has emanated during the course of lifespan that we have right now. So I would say that all this all together, truly the UN has tried to bring all these things down with 17 goals. And I would say that this really forms whatsoever challenge that the whole world itself is even facing. And when we now begin to talk about just transition, it's us being able to now touch all these 17 goals one after the other and ensure that anything we are doing, we are ensuring that we are balancing it together using effective communication, whereby we talk about raising awareness about all these goals, because I want to ensure that we touch these 17 goals because it's very crucial. Everybody is experiencing hunger. Everybody is experiencing low quality education across board. India is facing its own. Russia is facing its own issues. Every country in one way are affected. So we have to engage diverse stakeholders to ensure that, okay, as nations, we have to sit down and dialogue together. Building public support and mobilization, mobilizing actions, facilitating inclusion decision making. So we don't just say, oh, these are the few people. What about the PWD? Are they also on the table to discuss with you? There is a saying that if you are not on the table, then you will be the meat to be served on the table.
That's right.
So you must ensure that we bring everybody on board. All stakeholders must be there for us to be able to now say, this is what we want, this is what we want, and that will lead us to the just transition that we are hoping for.
Now, talking about the SDG, you mentioned the SDG that we need to talk about the 17 of every of the SDG goal written there. I think we have about 6 years to get to one of the targets you're giving to us. That's 2030, right?
Yes.
Is there a feasibility that we can actually do more? Because the last report I saw released from the UN still shows that we're actually backward. So we've been having, I believe that before now we've had policies, we've had stakeholders engagement and all like that. What is causing this bridge in effective communication, and what do you think needs to be done better, right? And there are some SDGs that we know that, okay, in the African continent we're doing well, we're trying, while some, like this the part of the energy sector, the climate change and all like that, what would you say that needs to be done properly, some things we've not done before or taken seriously more before, for us to actually get more grounds towards the 2030 deadline goal?
Okay. I'll come in this way, and my words will not just be for Nigeria alone.
That's right.
But for Africa at large. We've come to a level whereby we are not conversant with what happens around us. We feel like, as far as I'm able to go out for my daily business, I am fine. So I'm less concerned about what effort you might think you are taking relating to what the government decision is coming in for you. So based on that, the government too, knowing fully well that the citizens are not participatory, they take decision on their own, either understanding the nitty-gritty of the SDG itself.
That's right.
Which some months ago we were clamoring that government it was the 2023 election where I was privileged to be part of a team challenging the people, calling the attention of people that if you are seeing anybody being appointed and not making SDGs as part of his foundation to what you want, then you shouldn't vote for such person. So when we begin to get it right from that point, that every of Nigerian, Africa at large must take cognizance of from the beginning of election to say, yes, I'm part of this, any decision that is to occur. Because when you begin to get your conversant, even from the primary election, not just the general election,
That's right.
from the primary election, taking where the delegates are to take decisions to appointing those you now want to take decision of either this person is good or bad to go for office. So when political parties are already giving you bad eggs, and you are not trying to find good out of bad, it doesn't make sense any longer. So when Africans begin to take responsibility to knowing matters that surrounds them, from the place of election to the policies that drives their business,
That's right,
to things that is going to affect their health. So the policy regarding health, regarding education, when we are talking about the quality education, we are talking about the policies that is going to drive your business, and we are talking about, okay, if this policy is not going to lead you into abject poverty. So when we now begin to be more conscious of that, which will be my call to all Africans at this very moment, that we should be very conscious of this. Truly, we are back. We are for Nigeria, we're Africa. We are way back. But in as much as that is, we are the forefront of SDG, clamoring, advocating, civil organizations, everyone, NGOs, everybody pushing out. We are clamoring also now that we want to have more youth to join, to see this as part of them.
That's right.
So when we now begin to see it as our responsibility, where there is no more greed in between us, to say that they are saying this thing is coming from the UN, then it should be something that must be money enticing. So that is why I am there. But when you now begin to see it beyond the money aspect, and this is a problem that needs to be solved. We were just having a glimpse of what Niger Delta people are experiencing.
Exactly.
I was crying 2 days ago when the governor was giving an update. I was literally crying inside that hall when you are saying the life expectancy of people in that environment is 50. You are telling me that a woman that is to have menopause at 60 is already experiencing menopause at 35. So it's something worrisome. So when we all now begin to say this is very, very important for us to look into, being participatory, and you are not mindful of color, racism, or whatsoever that ties around why you want to hate one person against the other. You want to use religion to divide. You want to use ethnicity to divide, and not seeing the broader picture
that
of
that
affects everybody together. I'm now being able to say, all this together is affecting us. So if it is affecting us, this is beyond religion. This is beyond ethnicity.
That's right.
We have to come together to ensure that, okay, this thing, because at the end of the day, it's the same blood that is running in our veins, except for the people in Niger Delta now that their bloods are now having hydrocarbon in it, because of the havoc that the oil companies have made them pass through. So, which the effect of those things that is affecting is also still moving to those sides where there is no such industry. In another form.
True.
So all this is everybody's responsibility. When you say, these people in Niger Delta, what they are experiencing is also to me too. You say this is the same blood running in our veins. I must ensure that this person's own blood shouldn't, right? That is just my point of view.
Amazing. Talking about communication in advancing just transition in Africa, you might be wondering, how does this concern you? Now, we've actually heard some punchline that our guest actually made in this conversation, pointing out a report that was made in a just transition program where the governor of Bayelsa State noted that the life expectancy of people living in Bayelsa is 50. It's actually 50. That's actually way low than it should actually be, and this is as a result of the effect of environmental issues, the hazards that are going on in the state, oil spillage and all. Talking about ladies who actually see their who actually get to menopause at 35 is actually a very disastrous thing to actually think of, right? Talking about deaths, people just dying because of complications and having hydrocarbon in their blood system. This is something that we should actually stand up to actually talk or take very seriously. It's not something we should, some sector of people should see as this actually affects only a group of people, and that's why we're having this conversation. We need to learn or know how to communicate just transition in Africa, in your community. What best way, or how best do you think that this can be communicated in the town where you're listening from, or the environment where you're actually listening from. All right, Mr. Boluwatife, could you please tell us, let's learn from your expertise and your experience, what communication strategies YALI has found effective, in reaching young African leaders on things around just transition?
Okay, based on that, for YALI Network Nigeria, under which the YALI Network Abuja, where I served, the initiative we've tried to push out, being that one that is very cogent to us is this climate issue, and just of recent we initiated, that was in June, we initiated the 1 million tree planting across Nigeria, whereby we saddled the responsibility to all our members, which is over 10,000 across board, over 700 here in Abuja alone, to take the responsibility of planting just one tree. Have one tree planted. And
was it a success?
Yes.
Amazing.
It was a success, because the first place we were launching here in Abuja was in a school, whereby we did not just by you planting the tree. It is now to the community. So, for example, the school we went to, it's now a responsibility for the school to ensure that they keep taking care of those trees. Where we planted 55 trees.
Amazing.
In a day. So also to other places like that. And if you go through our platform, we were able to share with everyone how each state, from like people, our members from each state, buy into the idea, and we were able to collate together even for our national summit that we had in August 23rd, where the total report of how people engage across the board, and this actually went on successful. And in another way that we push forward is community engagement, social media campaigns.
Okay.
When you now talk about social media campaigns, for everything we've done, we also put it there on the social media page. We even ran a 30 days campaign on why you need to plant a tree.
Amazing.
So we were putting all those work there, and those who were supporting, we were able to put it out there for everyone to see, and that it will not just be YALI members alone, but everyone that come across that should bring a consciousness to them, a subconsciousness to them, to say, I have to care for a tree. I have to have a tree planted instead of you cutting trees. As we are worried, why we said it is everybody's work. So when certain teams are pushing, and you have even governments themselves bringing down trees, then it's a total menace for us.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing. Thank you for that contribution. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Remember, you can join us on WhatsApp to send in your contributions. How do you think we can effectively communicate this in the area, the community where you're listening from? You can send in your input to 0911 112 1055, and let's keep it going on X at TDEV Reports.
The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green, can't you see? I can see, oh, the harvest is ready, 'cause he told me so. It's green and it's all mine. As the clouds go gray, the thunder roars and the earth sings. The season's just beginning. The sunlight it hides as the clouds make way for the pouring of my blessings. I will not be afraid. I see it now, I understand, I know. So I embrace it, dance in the rain. It's for my seed to grow, for every prayer and every seed I've sown. Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping back 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. It's green for me. Standing alone can be a heavy load, but my vows I won't be breaking. Though my heart is aching, I got a word and I won't let go. It's your will I'm seeking, so I keep on believing. I see it now, I understand, I know, so I embrace it, dance. Once again it's time for me to grow. For every prayer and every tear I've sown, the Lord of the harvest knows I'm reaping joy 100-fold. The land is green, it's green, oh, oh. The land is green, it's green, can't you see? The harvest is ready, 'cause the Lord of the harvest told me so. It's green for me. I thought it was over, thought you were done with me, but we're just beginning. Whoa, my life is a journey. I will walk with you, I will go where you want me to. Yes, I will go. Come on.
Welcome back. It's still the Development Report. I am Ife Onyekwere and we're discussing communication in advancing just transition in Africa. What do you know about just transition, or how effectively have you understood what just transition is as a person? And do you feel like CSOs, NGOs, organizations, the government are doing enough to communicate this to you as an individual? How would you take the news if you are living in a community, or your loved one is living in a community where it is said that hydrocarbon can be found in the blood system of your loved one because of a toxic environment caused by oil spillage in that community? How would you react to that if you had a loved one living in that community? Because I feel like we need to stop taking this thing as though, oh, it's not happening in my community, so it's far. Right, it's far, so it doesn't affect me. In Abuja, I think it was last month, we heard about some things that happened in Pape area where there was a very great shaking. While some attributed it to air tremor, while some said it was activities of some companies digging, exploiting the ground and all. like that. Well, we're seeing that these things are getting closer to us by the day, right? And so I want us to take this issue seriously, and that's why we're bringing in experts from different sectors to talk about these issues that affects us. Imagine me asking someone on the road, let's say a young Nigerian, how does climate change affect you? Tell me something you know about. And it's like, oh, it's something that concerns the Western world. You can imagine in a time like this, it's really alarming. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation. We have in the studio Mr. Boluwatife, who is from YALI, and he's been discussing with us just transition. Could you tell us how Africans youth are vital for this movement? What are the ways that some young Africans, can push for just transition in their local communities? Are youth important? Because I believe we have a large number of youth in this part of the world, so are we relevant for this? And what are the ways, that the young population can actually push for just transition?
Okay, very good. For Nigeria as a whole, when we are talking about population, we say almost 60 to 70% of Nigerians are youth. And if you are saying 60 to 70, then for all these youths are making use of their phone. They all have a smartphone at least to make use of. So which means if we are to push more, I would say a place of social media goes a long way in passing information across board. And if, as I've rightly said, everybody takes it as their responsibility.
That's right.
So if you are now saying 70% of Nigerians who actually, by the population of those making use of social media even across the whole world, Nigeria take a huge sum of number.
That's right.
Which means that if we all engage to push regarding these climate issues and not seeing it as a Western
honestly
stuff, because at the end of the day, things happen in the Western world is the 4% of what that is affecting us. Just 4% of it at this moment.
Yeah.
You are saying, oh, it doesn't affect your education. Then what about 2 years ago at Kogi State, where the flooding occurred, and you don't have access? Because when you are talking about climate issues, you are talking about flooding as one of the crisis.
Yes.
And you are unable to go to your school because the school already is even submerged inside water. So these are just different ways that this thing affects us, as it's affecting the quality of education. Because if you are unable to go to school, that is poor education emanating.
That's right.
And food already gone because no farmland again. That is the agricultural sector gone. So every area is concerned. I do tell people that SDG are intertwined. If you say you want me to just pick 3 or 5 of it doesn't go with me as a person.
Yeah.
Every of them are intertwined together, that if you think you want to solve this, by the time you are solving it, it's going to lead you into another thing. Just of recent, I was in a conference where we were talking about this climate as it relates to health, the nexus between climate and health. And I think part of it is what has led us into the exposure into what Niger Delta are facing. Because the end result of the climate issues that they are having, the black suit in Port Harcourt, having the grass flaring in Bayelsa, the destruction of farmland and the rest like that, all together attributes together as one that affects us. That's all right. Together. So I think for Nigerian youths, taking social media as one of the tools of pushing, and at the same time, because it's now everybody's responsibility, we talk about community engagement.
That's right.
Whereby you don't see it as the usual town hall that is different. But you will see it as that town hall that is meaningful to you. That's to right. Sit down in, and not a place where you only come and because you know there's going to be refreshment at the end of the day. If I should put it, it's because they've already know that we always come for that food. So the main conversation that needs to come will not come. They just, as you use during the election, to just use money to divert your attention. Yeah. Jokingly, somebody was talking to me inside the taxi 2 days ago and was like, those who collected 100 million as well delegates for political parties, what is that 100 million still there for you at this moment?
I can imagine.
We've had triple inflation of what it is before election.
That's right.
So your 100 million is useless at this moment. So that is just a point of view to this.
Amazing. That was really explicit. Thank you so much for giving us deep insight on that. I believe some stakeholders, some people who are in the communication sector would also be listening to this conversation, and they might want to learn one or two things from organizations like yours, who is really doing so well, both the African space and the international space. Can you share an example of an effective communication strategy that YALI has used in engaging issues as sustainable energy, fair transition? Is there anything unique? You mentioned social media, you mentioned going to these people themselves, talking about the tree planting. Is there any other thing that could be very key to ensure that people who are also NGOs, as CSOs and all like that might be listening, even school owners, people who have influence one way or the other can be listening? Are there strategic things that they need to do? Let's imagine people in the core north, right? People in the core west in Nigeria, and I'm talking about Nigeria. People in the core east, right? I believe there are people who, the other day I was having a conversation with someone who is actually Igbo, and he was asking me what is sustainable development in Igbo, and I was like, so tell us, some strategies that can actually ensure that we actually get into the people that matter, everyone in the society, and not leaving anyone behind.
Okay, I think this is where partnership comes to play. Because for any NGO, CSOs that is listening to me right now, it is high time we stop working in silos. Rather, partnership and collaboration. When you see an organization doing something great, you too try to be part of it. Come over. The door for YALI is open for partnership. YALI is across board.
Amazing.
Almost all the 36 states in Nigeria as it speak. And if you are willing, join the network. For those who Nigerian youth that is yet to join the network, for NGOs and any other organization that already has an establishment, let's partner together. And in the course of this, we will be able to even now, for those in the hop north, if I should put it that way, we will now be able to say the place of effective communication using local language messages will be more effective to help also in our storytelling, even to what we are going to put there on the social media page. And you now, being that we are working together and you've translated to your own local language, we help you to drive the community engagement at your own sphere. So I think that takes us also to the capacity building trainings. Just of recent, I partook in the area of peace and security, where we tagged it train the trainer.
Oh, amazing.
Whereby, fine, I've been putting work out there as a peace person, advocating for peace, but now as someone who is putting that outside, going through another further training for me to understand what it means to now become a peace ambassador on a fuller scale. So I think that goes a long way. Not for us as a whole, is that we should not shy away from learning. So when we don't shy away from learning, room for us to collaborate together, partner together, I think we help, no matter as an Igbo, as a Hausa. That is why I said we should see beyond just the tribe, the religion, that we can. Because when it comes to climate, I follow a team that talks about these are other areas you will not literally listen compulsorily. You must be in this what is it called, YALI as a body, but which I would say be part of it though. But in as much as that, there are other organizations also doing great things.
That's right.
When it comes to African climate advocacy, Oxfam is doing well in this. There are other organizations also pushing. In regards to education, we have connected development through the Malala Foundation. That is also going on one hand to enter into the remote areas to ensure that these young chaps that
understand what's going on.
And this is the statistics of saying that 20 million girl child out of school is actually a report that is almost 10 years backward. What
is the current one?
Statistics at the moment. So these are things that we need to now start putting in place to ensure that we are just is something that is for every one of us to unite together and get it done. Thank you.
Amazing. All right. I want you to tell us if you faced any technical issues trying to communicate specific issues as just transition in the past. Has there been any technical issues you faced as a communicator?
Okay. As a communicator, I would say I'm even in the face right now. And that is people finding it very difficult, to put their face out there to even tell the story of what they passed through. So becomes a very bigger problem for us who want to communicate and ensure that certain information is put out there. We are in a world whereby the world is not just after the content. They want to see the face behind the content. I keep challenging people. If you have billionaires even struggling with young creators on social media, because that is where the world is tending into. And if we are to say, it is beyond the comedy that we all used to relax our pains in Nigeria, in Africa right now. We must begin to utilize this social media page, content creation,
to tell the
stories of what is affecting us from the climate angle, education angle, health angle, those people living in abject poverty, right? And those affected by, we are all affected by electricity issue when it comes to the energy. Your business is not thriving because there is no light. So all this all together, then the effect of the waste that you drop around your environment, when we are talking about this just transition, goes to you ensuring that your waste is also well taken care of. But when you don't take care of it, it leads to the drainage. The drainage takes it to the river, and that is affecting the lifespan of the ocean.
That's true.
Taking it across different social
intertwined.
So that's just
amazing. Looking ahead, I want you to advise young leaders in Africa who want to use their voices to advocate this just transition in ways. How can they use their voices to communicate just transition in ways that will be impactful and sustainable? Okay,
great. So what my first advice is learning what you intend to even put out there. Be part of the teams that are already in that space to learn what it means, so that you don't put out wrong information and even the techniques to communicating, so that in the course of you communicating, you are not going off board.
That's right.
Yeah. So when you learn, then that can now help in you now putting your content out, both the ones you want to use locally, those that will go out internationally. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this contribution. Thank you for your expertise. Amazing. We have to call it a wrap here on the Development Report today. Like we always do for every show, we're taking our time to celebrate community champions turning trash into treasure. We celebrate you and we appreciate everything you do for the environment. A heartfelt thank you to the audience for listening, and keep your contributions coming in on X at TDEV Report, and you'll be attended to. All right. Also, a big thank you to my amazing producer, Mr. Hyacinth Akpan and Mr. Charles Kalu. You can also join us for another captivating episode of the Development Report, where we'll continue our journey towards a more sustainable future. Here's a quote to think upon. Sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future generations. I am Ife Onyekwere. Do have a wonderful weekend as we meet to discuss development issues same time next week. Bye.